So, for reasons I don't even understand, I have always thought of Nick Drake and Big Star together. And I don't mean that like in terms of sound or maybe influence. They're similar. Two acts that certainly were not big commercially when they were active, but in years that followed became much more influential, well known, less of sort of an indie rock secret, both of them. Um, and I think there's just a lot of reasons why I always think of them. I don't know, just certain acts you uh, pair, or I don't know. Like it's like Springsteen and Neil Young. Some maybe it's just timelines, but it's also, I guess, personal front. Lane and I were huge Big Star and Nick Drake fans. I think on any given day, you ask either of us, and those could be both in our top fives. And then it's also the periods in which they put out music. So Nick Drake was obviously 1969 to 1972, and Big Star was essentially 72 to 75. So some would say 78 is when Third came. I'm not sure. I think it was 75. Uh, and they both put out, even though they have collections and live albums, and Big Star put out a record like in the 2000s, I think. Um, they really both put out three records, and in my view, all three for both artists are perfect 5-star records. That is rare. And they also met tragedy. Nick Drake died in his parents' home in 1978 from, I think, what is considered an accidental overdose of antidepressant medication. And Chris Bell, one of the founders, or I think the founder of Big Star, who only appears on their first record, number one record, died in a car accident, leaving I believe his parents' restaurant where he was working in 19. Sorry, I got the dates mixed up. Nick Drake was 1974, and Chris Bell was 1978, and I believe both deaths. Some have speculated that one or both or none could have been suicide. So it's there's just so many ties that put these guys together. And I realized I was going to show my collection of their records. If you didn't know these bands and looked at my wall of records under Nick Drake or Big Star, you would think that they each put out 30 records because I have so many copies. Just because I just absolutely adore them. In the last 20 years, outside of Springsteen, Wilco, and maybe Dylan, I would say Big Star and Nick Drake are the artists I've listened to the most. A lot of people talk about how, there's such a reverence, people revere Nick Drake so much, but a lot of people don't listen to him, and I don't get that. I listen to him all the time. Pink Moon is like 26 minutes long, and it's one of the most beautiful records ever made. I listen to the Big Star records, especially Third. Third has moved up into my top 10 of all time. It's in my top 5 now of all time. Obviously, all subject to change, but that is just such a remarkable record. So I figured I will just run through quickly my collections. Those are the stories. Obviously, I mentioned, my brother. I've shared the story where Lane and I were in a record store. I believe it was in Central New Jersey. I had never heard of Big Star, and I was looking through the B's, and this popped up, and I remember Lane just said, "Buy it." And I was like, "All right." Now this, I don't know. I think this is an original. It says 1972 Stax Records, 1968 Ace Records. So I think this is like pricey, the real deal. Big Beat? I don't know. But, well, it says original release date original release April 1972, which makes me think it's reissue. Oh, so this is not an original. It looks like it was reissued 1986. Yeah, on Ace Records, I'm sorry. So Big Star, #1 record. Big Star, #1 record. This is the 2019 Kraft Recordings reissue. Big Star, #1 record. This might be the one that yeah. Ardent, 2803, April 1972. This may be the original. I was almost positive I had an original. I think this is it. This is the one that I bought in the record store with Lane, and I think I bought it for $5. And if it is the original, I think it's in the hundreds of dollars now. And I have the record store day reissue, colored vinyl. It should arrive today. So I will have 4 copies of #1 record, and I listened to all of them. Big Star, Radio City, after Alex had left the band, or not Alex, Chris Bell had left the band. So you can see this is Damaged. Line Records, 1973. This might be an original as well, but it is, the cardboard is, or the sleeve is very damaged. This is the reissue of Radio City. This came out 2019, I believe it was Kraft as well. Great shot on the back of members of Big Star, Alex Chilton, Andy Hummel, and Jody Stevens, the drummer. Again, Chris Bell had left the band. And then third, this is in my top 10. Just, I mean, when you look at, I think this was like just thrown together, like as they were breaking up or something. And it is Strike It Noel, For You, Kiss Me, You Can't Have Me, Nighttime, Blue Moon, Take Care, Jesus Christ, Femme Fatale, Oh Dana, Big Black Car, Holocaust, Kangaroo, and Thank You Friends. That's a 10.0. They're all 10.0, but this one especially, what I deem as their last record. They have another, as I mentioned, in 2000, they have a record called In Space, I think. I've never even heard it. I should listen. I think it's supposed to be pretty good. But this record, wow. And then there's just all these collections. Big Star live in Memphis. Big Star, the documentary, which is fantastic. I have a poster of it right there. I have tons of books on Big Star. When I think of Big Star, I think of my brother, Lane. I mean, we just had such a connection over this band because he turned me on to them. I haven't opened this one yet. Big Star at Lafayette's Music Room. Omnivore, 2009 or 18. This is Big Star's third, the compilation. It was put out, I don't know, 10 years ago, 2016. It just never ends. The Best of Big Star came out a couple years ago. I love that shot. I love that Chris Bell is smiling. My brother carried around a picture in his wallet of Chris Bell smiling, and he used to tell me it was the only picture he'd ever seen of him smiling. There's another one. That's a different photo. So I'm sure Lane, if came out in 2017, Lane definitely picked this up. I'm sure he loved that shot. This was an official release. Big Star at Columbia University of Missouri in 1993. The rumor is if you looked at the video footage of this, Jeff Tweedy's in the front row. That's what I heard. I'm going to check it out today. I think I checked once and I thought I saw him. So this is, I'm going to listen to this one today. Then I bought the Big Star complete third test pressing. There's sides A and B. Sides C and D. Had to have that, of course. It's just, it never ends. Big Star third on vinyl. I also have this on CD. Big Star third. This is a record store day release that I paid an outrageous amount for, but I listened to it a lot. The original master tapes. And then, of course, the complete Chris Bell, which is fantastic. I Am the Cosmos. What a record. So that's Big Star, one of the greatest bands ever. I've recently been thinking about the greatest American bands, and I put Big Star in the top five. I think I would probably say REM number one. Wilco's up there. The Ramones, I guess Nirvana, Creedence, Beach Boys, Replacements. Big Star is way up top. Some days I would say they are number one. And then there's Nick Drake. Not as much, although I do have more elsewhere. So I have the Fruit Tree box set, which came out on vinyl via Brighter Music, and has the documentary A Skin Too Few, which is a fantastic documentary on the life of Nick Drake. That includes all of his records, as you can see. Why am I forgetting the name? Five Leaves Left, one of my favorite album titles. Brighter Later, and Pink Moon, and then the documentary. Here's a compilation that came out on Island in 2013. I believe it was Record Store Day. Nick Drake Family Tree. So this is a collection of tracks that came out, a lot of great tracks, many of which were not on any of his records. The Standout, Black Dog, I think it's called. Been Smoking Too Long, it's a good one. Maybe Black Dog isn't on this. I know he has a dog song that is great. Great jacket opening there. A copy of Pink Moon that I haven't even opened. This is one of the, I'm not gonna get emotional. For my brother's collection, this is one of the more coveted records I have, just because I know how much he loved this record. And I've opened it up a bunch of times and looked through, because I can imagine him just poring over this. So my brother had this reissue of Pink Moon, and I'm so grateful to have it. This is one of my favorite possessions, so thank you, Lane. Again, there are more Nick Drake, but I'm going to share this record. Molly Drake, who is Nick Drake's mother. This is the most I've spent on a record in probably 5 years. I'll just say it was over $100 in a local record store by me. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I've never seen this. It's a beautiful record. And I was able to support a local record store that I love by picking this up. So, Molly Drake. Again, there's more. But Nick Drake and Big Star, for so many reasons, which I've cited. The years, the fact that they put out 3 records, the connection to my brother, the fact that both bands, or not bands, Nick is an individual artist, ended in tragedy. Of the members of 4 original members of Big Star, only one is still alive, Jody Stevens, the drummer, and he is a sweet, sweet man. I've talked to him before. Actually tried to get into Ardent during COVID when I was driving cross country, and Jody wrote me back and said that they were closed because of COVID. I was trying to get into the studio to tour it. I drove there with Bennett. There's a picture of him outside of Ardent that I love. Chris Bell died in 1978. Then Alex Chilton died in 2010. I believe it was the day before they were scheduled to play at South by Southwest. And I was there and I was going to go. And it was either the day before or just a few days before Alex Chilton died of a heart attack. And then bassist Andy Hummel died a few years ago, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years ago now, I believe of cancer. So the wonderful Jody Stevens is still with us. He performs with Golden Smog. He's been doing a lot of the Big Star Third shows. If you get a chance to see that, the sort of touring Big Star Third show, I've seen it once, I think it was 10 years ago in New York City, and I really wish I'd gone since. They have so many great acts. Ira Kaplan from Yola Tango, Matthew Sweet, Jeff Tweedy, and a couple other members of Wilco, I believe. Pat Sansone, maybe John Sturrett. And just Michael Stipe plays at some of the shows, Mike Mills. It's just a tremendous, tremendous show. Mitch Easter, uh, can't recommend it enough if it comes through your town. Big Star Third. And I have those records too, the live records of, I think there's only one. And then there's a tribute called Big Star World or something, which I have on vinyl as well. Big Star and Nick Drake, pick out any of the 6 records. You cannot go wrong. And that's all we've got for today. I will talk to you soon. Hope you are all doing well. Take care.